When I heard the local people refer to the Screamers, I thought they meant harpies or something. They warned our group not to head into the mountains beyond Valdorn and the Great Purple Desert. They said there were no trails there, no roads or safe places to stop with shelter and food. I told them someone had to blaze a trail and walk the first path, but they just gloomily packed my supplies into our animals and muttered, "A fool was soon forgotten, but a good camel was sorely missed." I laughed at the time, as this was just typical of townsfolk on the frontier to the distant eastern lands. Their motto was not "nothing ventured, nothing gained," it was more like "damn your fool adventures and guard my grains." But it turns out they were quite right, and those Screamers damn near killed us all. I would later learn that their ancient name, known well to Scalykind, are the Yrthak, proof that flying crocodiles are even worse than you can imagine. Hello everyone, my name is AJ Pickett, your sage of Dungeons & Dragons lore. It's time to grab yourself a tasty beverage. We're about to get deeply nerdy. Imagine, if you will, some mad wizard took a really big river crocodile, the kind that wait for seasonal migrations of cattle and gorge themselves on the animals when they try to make a dangerous river crossing. Those monsters that are over 20 feet long? Well, on Earth in the year 1990, some archaeologists working in the Great Sahara Desert found fossil examples of crocodiles that they called the imperial flesh crocodile, translating from Latin. And they were 40 feet long. Now take that monster and give it wings, and the ability to not only hunt in the dark of night, but also generate and direct very powerful attacks using low-frequency infrasound blasts. And you have the Yrthak. They are not some mage's experiment gone wrong. Well, they may have been created by the likes of the serpentine creator race called the Saruk. In any case, these things have been around, as far as anyone knows, for a very, very long time. Yrthak are not strictly carnivorous. They eat just about anything that can nourish them, and they can go without food for extraordinary lengths of time. Saltwater crocodiles have been known to survive without food for up to 3 years. 3 years! It's no wonder they've survived the mass extinction that took out the dinosaurs, and they will survive the mass extinction going on right now, I can guarantee it. The Yrthak may not seem like much competition for far more intelligent and capable dragons, and they aren't, but they can survive in some of the most desolate and formidable mountain terrain Toril has to offer. Much like crocodiles, they just go about their business surviving. But every now and then, some foolish adventurers head into their territory and get themselves eaten, and the Yrthak, like crocodiles, once they learn how easy it is to hunt down and kill humanoids, become very dangerous and simply have to be hunted down and killed. Not an easy task. Yrthaks grow to an adult size of 20 feet long with a wingspan of 40 feet wide. They weigh around 5,000 pounds and are fairly clunky flyers, but they move at 20 feet per round on the ground and 60 feet per round in the air. They are not as heavily armoured as crocodiles. The yellowish-green hide is thick and fleshy though, more of a deep green on the body and lightning to yellow hues along the membranes of the wings and the raised back fin. It also contains some unique air sacs that inflates and vibrates deeply to generate its subsonic attacks, way beyond anything that a crocodile could produce, which also use infrasound to communicate with each other. They are completely without visual organs, using sonar to extend their blind sight out to 120 feet. They must have additional sensory powers that allow them to navigate long distances through the air. It's thought that they navigate using infrasound over many miles, gliding on air currents. Ironically, their very sensitive hearing renders them vulnerable to thunder damage, and being deafened has the same effect on them as being blinded, though they do have the benefit of being totally immune to all gaze attacks and visual illusions. They not only have +4 to wisdom checks involving hearing, they also have advantage on those rolls, and they have +6 on their dexterity checks for stealth. Yrthak prefer to hunt at night, and they do so from the air. Because they hear in all directions, they are difficult to sneak up on, and they have a passive perception of 17. An adult has tough natural hide with an armor class of 16. They count as a size category huge, with 16 d12 plus 64, or between 80 and 256, with an average of 168 hit points. By the way, when I mention that it's between 80 and 256, what I'm generally implying is that juveniles would have like 80 and the big, matriarch of the entire region would have 256 for some particularly legendary critter that's going to really challenge your party. They have a strength of 20, dexterity of 14, constitution of 17, and intelligence of 7, but they can't talk or understand language. Their wisdom is 13 and their charisma is 11. Typically, they hunt alone as adults. The juveniles may attack in a group, who hatch together. Their clutches will have between 2 and 4 siblings who work together to bring down prey. Yrthak begin their attack by diving out of the sky and directing a tightly focused 60-foot ray of sound that is itself beneath the frequency of sound a humanoid can hear. But it's so intense, any creature caught in the ray's path must make a DC 17 wisdom saving throw, taking 8d10 thunder damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. The infrasound will travel right through any living creatures. They don't provide cover for one another, but it can be stopped by stones, bricks, rock, earth, and large tree trunks. Luckily, the infrasound won't deafen victims, but the vibrations and damage it causes certainly makes a lot of noise. Also, the range of the infrasound ray is doubled underwater, though the damage remains the same. This effect takes a couple of rounds to recharge as the Yrthak inflates its internal air sacs by its normal breathing process. They do have another mode of attack using this sound. Once per day, they can direct the ray directly at rock, stone, or the ground and simply blast it with sound, which causes an area of effect explosion of pulverized rock shards along with a small shock wave, no more than 10 feet wide. Any creature caught within that radius must make a DC 17 dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone, taking 6d6 piercing damage and an additional 2d6 thunder damage if they fail the saving throw, or half as much damage and not being knocked prone if they successfully make the saving throw. They are tactical enough to blast a tree trunk or rock face apart and cause heavy objects to fall in the combat area, bludgeoning other creatures and creating difficult terrain. They will attack from the air with their claws once per round. They're +9 to hit one target within 5 feet, inflicting 1d10 plus 5 slashing damage, and a successful claw strike will see the victim grappled by the Yrthak, which then takes a dash into the sky on the next round and drops the victim. At the end of the fall, the creature takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it fell, to a maximum of 20d6, in case it fell into a ravine or off a cliff. The creature lands prone unless it somehow avoids taking damage from the fall. The Yrthak only uses its fearsome bite attack when it has landed on the ground. It has a reach of 10 feet and is +10 to hit one target, inflicting 2d10 plus 5 piercing damage. They can grapple a target with their jaws. This in no way inhibits their ability to generate and release one of their sonic rays out of their horn-like projections that extend well beyond the tip of their snout. Yrthak nest in desolate, high alpine areas devoid of snow. They lay a clutch of up to 4 eggs once every couple of years. Few of their offspring survive all the way to adulthood, and any of those who do, only 1 in 10 will continue to grow in size until they reach the gargantuan size category. This lowers their armor class a little, increases their hit points and damage bonuses, but otherwise there's not much change other than the sheer size and a lot more combat experience with humanoids. Yrthaks dwell in many of Faerun's mountainous areas, ranging all the way from the spine of the world in the far north to the Sunrise Mountains in the far eastern border with the endless wastes of the Tweegan Horse Lords, and down south as far as the North Wall Mountains bordering the nation of Halrua. They can also be found in the wilderness of the Middle Dark and Lower Dark. There are plenty of enormous natural caverns down there which they can freely roam. Since Yrthak have been around for a long time, they have undoubtedly travelled to other worlds thanks to portal magic and outside of the prime material plane. Fiendish Yrthaks were known to live in the Gaping Maw, the 88th layer of the Abyss, and Demogorgon's primary playground. According to Dragon Magazine number 352, published in 2007, in an article on the ecology of the Yrthak, there is some mythology concerning their origin story, and I quote, "The ancient myths passed down by the mystery cult of Nyx speak of Branius of Apollo, a man who many considered the greatest and kindest bard of his age. Yet even with his fame and appeal, he knew that his uplifting music could not reach everyone. This tormented Branius, who hoped to brighten the lives of all he could. Although he travelled far and sought magic to spread his song, he knew that even all the magic he could muster would never allow him to play for the entire world. Desperate for a way to acquire the power to have his song reach the world, he offered a week-long hymn of devotion to any deity who would listen, praying for a way to accomplish his dearest wish. As the final note faded, at the precise moment the sun vanished beyond the horizon, 2 powerful entities answered Branius's call. A beautiful winged trumpet archon with her brilliant instrument held in hand arrived from the 7 mounting heavens of Celestia, soothing the humbled bard with the promise that his legend would last forever. She told him that his beautiful songs would be played by the great bards throughout the ages, and some day far in the future, All the people of the countless kingdoms would know his music. With that, she held out her radiant trumpet to Branius. At the same moment, a succubus arrived from the infinite layers of the abyss, holding a long, slender horn crafted from bone. The temptress promised Branius the power to create music that would change the lives of all who heard it, songs that no living thing could deny, that even the deaf would notice, and do so within his lifetime. After making her offer, she extended her terrible bone horn to the mortal. Tormented by the choice, Branius searched his heart, but his ego intervened. Finally, he reached for the fiend's gnarled horn. Before he could touch it, though, the succubus drew him close and with a wicked grin, slammed the gnarled horn into the bard's forehead, splitting his skull. Yet, Branius did not die. His flesh warping and bones shattering and realigning, the horn changed the very nature of his being. The Archon averted her eyes as the screams of Branius died away, and their first Yrthak was born. Take such myths as you like, but one thing is true enough. Yrthaks are and have always been drawn to the rhythmic sounds of music, and they always tend to locate their nests close to sources of soothing natural noise. There are even legends of Yrthaks kidnapping musicians who are never seen again. Another interesting bit of information is that the echolocation sounds of bats cause them to become confused, and that near a nest occupied by their eggs, they refrain from using their sonic attack due to the risk of shattering their own offspring's eggshells. These eggs are about 2 feet in diameter and weigh about 25 pounds. They hatch after 4 months in the nest. The female Yrthak chases off the male as soon as the eggs hatch, so males are always on the lookout for a good spot to build a new nest. I did say that they don't understand language. Well, they have a rudimentary one of their own, but it's impossible for any other creature to replicate, though some beings with exceptional hearing can at least listen to it. Yrthaks have a bulbous organ that looks like a large swollen part of their long tongue. This is called the oral lobe. It's an additional, incredibly sensitive sound receptor organ. They can conceal and protect from picking up dangerous levels of sound by tucking it away inside a concealed slit within their mouth. The smallest adult Yrthaks are about 14 feet long, in particularly harsh environments, while the largest legendary Yrthak is of colossal size, located slumbering beneath a remote volcano island called Anak Krakau. Great plumes of strange smoke billow from the island fissures, and buried most of the way beneath many decades of soil and ruins, there is a Yrthak of truly epic proportions, sleeping deeply, just the horn jutting above the ground and rising to a height of 30 feet. The local villagers think of the vibrating green monolith as some sort of god they call He Who Hums, and play music to it every day. The Yrthak is a mutant, grown to enormous size and longevity due to the fumes rising from the volcanic activity in the Underdark beneath the island. Should the volcano ever erupt again, He Who Hums will awaken, laying waste to the island and unleashing a CR24 kaiju-level disaster of legendary proportions to anything that gets in its path. Oh, I should mention, the sound generated by the air sacs within the dorsal fin of the Yrthak empty into the lungs, creating internal vibrations that are channeled through the projecting top of the creature's skull that is called the sonic lance. The Yrthak doesn't need to exhale air in order to generate the subsonic beams. I hope you enjoyed our exploration of these strange creatures and it inspired some new ideas for your role-playing sessions. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe to the channel, and thank you to everyone who keeps my Discord server nice and lively and supports me with merch purchases from my Spring store and more directly via Subscribestar and Patreon. Thanks for listening, everyone. We're your Geek with Pride, and as always, I'll speak with you again real soon.